Hey guys, my name is Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist, nomadcapitalist.com, and I'm also the author of this book called Nomad Capitalist. You can get it on Amazon, which explains to any aspiring global citizen how you can go out and live the kind of global citizen lifestyle that we talk about, even if you have no idea where to start. And so in today's video from Tbilisi, Georgia, I want to talk about a very important topic, something that a lot of people have asked about. In this video, I'm going to do a rundown here in 2018 of the world's legal citizenship by investment programs. Now, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, I definitely recommend that you do that now. Click the button below because we have a lot of other videos on specific programs. We've gone through a number of the programs. We've discussed announcements. We've discussed changes. We've discussed all the details in separate videos, so you'll want to check those out if you haven't already. But in this video, I want to give you a rundown of 10 actual citizenship by investment programs that are active in 2018, give you a brief overview, and direct you to other videos here on the channel. Now, what I'd like you to also do once you've subscribed is to leave a comment with your favorite program or which program you would most like to be a part of. So if you're ready, let's dive into the 10 legal citizenship by investment programs available in 2018. Now, there are 5 in the Caribbean, in the West Indies. There is 1 in the South Pacific. There are 2 in the European Union, and there are 2 that are just starting to come online in the non-EU Europe, Eastern Europe. Let's start in the Caribbean. These are the most common programs. There are 5. We have videos on each of them. St. Kitts and Nevis is the longest running program since 1984. Dominica has been around since 1993. And more recently, Grenada has come back for a second run at a program. Antigua and Barbuda offers citizenship by investment. And most recently, St. Lucia. These 5 programs basically operate rather similarly. You either make a donation, starting at, in the case of Dominica and St. Lucia, $100,000, going up to $150,000 for the highest end programs. There are real estate options, which while generally are overpriced, there may be some interesting options that exist for certain kinds of people now. Some of the programs have more exotic options like buying and holding government bonds at a 0 coupon. Antigua has a business investment program. These programs follow a pretty similar playbook. Most people choose to make the donation, and all the passports really generally offer similar visa-free travel. Some will offer Russia, some will offer China, but they all follow a rather textbook approach. If you're a Western citizen, if you're looking for something on the cheap, if you're looking for something that is more affordable, that's a bit more straightforward, these are programs that, to me, meet the exact definition of citizenship by investment. They are commoditized, they're open to everybody, with a few exceptions, like Iranians in many cases, but they are generally pretty straightforward, and I think it's a great place for a lot of people to start. People think that there is perhaps a stigma with these programs. I haven't particularly seen that, although obviously some governments wish they didn't exist. I haven't seen anything actually happen in practice. Now let's move on to the one offering in the South Pacific. This is Vanuatu. It has been around in different incarnations. It's come, it's gone. It's been really confusing. And I talked about this when I was in Vanuatu last year. I met with some pretty high-level people, and they asked me my opinion on this, and I said it's a mess. And they said, yeah, you're right. There have been some improvements to try and make the program a bit more transparent, but honestly, Vanuatu is different than the Caribbean. You have to pay certain agent fees up front. You have to put the entire amount of the donation up front. It just operates in a different way, and what you get in return, under some of the programs at least, it's really confusing, is you get an honorary citizenship. So there may be, in some cases, a different basis in law for what that actually means for you. So Vanuatu is a unique option. I think it has a lot of potential. I like the country. I think that the country is doing some good things and has done some good things, but they have a program that probably needs some help. But that's a program. Donation, again, different programs, generally about $130,000. Then there's like a local agent fee, which kind of just serves as a donation. Then you've got to pay other people and other government fees, and it comes out to about 200 grand. So it's not really as cheap as some of the other programs, and you actually get a bit less visa-free travel. Now, on to Europe. A lot of people will comment that, hey, if I'm going to get a passport, I want to do it right. I've talked to so many people who are U.S. citizens who are afraid of going from that Tier A U.S. passport with all of its restrictions, all of its rules, all of its potential problems, going to that Caribbean passport. Personally, I think it's a great approach, and I made a video called Why Tier A passport or Tier B passports are the way to the future. But a lot of people, until I sit down over a couple days and really walk them through everything, they want that EU passport. For me, the EU passports are better served for people who don't mind a potential tax burden, who don't mind a changing tax landscape in the EU, who don't mind calls for greater regulation. But there are two programs in the EU. One is in Malta, one is in Cyprus. In Malta, you make a 650,000 euro donation to the state government. It is better if you can be married or have kids or have other dependents, because the donation really doesn't increase very much, anywhere from 25 to 50,000 euros, which is pretty nominal in that context. You have to put 150,000 euros in zero coupon government bonds for 5 years, so there's an opportunity cost there. You've got to either rent an apartment for 5 years or buy a property. And we did the math recently. For a lot of people who are investors, renting might be a better deal, even though it's a sunk cost. And so, Malta, what they have had an issue with is that because they're in the EU and because they're in the Schengen area, the EU wants them to have people actually showing legitimate ties to the country. That's why there's the rent. And that's why you have to actually spend a good part of the first year there. So Malta, not entirely a citizenship by investment program, because it does take as much as 18 months to actually get and be approved, but it is operated in a similar manner to the Caribbean programs. It just has more components. Starts the donation, adds other requirements. Cyprus, a bit more interesting. They have started to become more strict. The 57-day approval times, I think, are going to go away. But Cyprus wants you to invest 2 million euros in property, and depending on how you do it, you can get away with just doing that. If you want to invest the 2 million euros in a business, for example, Cyprus has a relatively low tax rate by European standards, then you can do that, but then you have to buy the house for 500,000 euros. Again, a nod to having ties there. No matter what you do, you've got to hold the property for a while, but then eventually you've got to hold that 500,000 euro property for life, which raises the question, how is that entirely going to be enforced? But 2 million euros if you structure it properly. What people don't understand is you're going to pay tax when you buy those properties. It's not just 2 million euro investment. There is going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax, or hundreds of thousands of euros actually in tax that you're going to pay when you buy those properties, which is why the program's a great deal. So those taxes serve as a de facto donation. Yes, potentially the property goes up in value, potentially you can recover that in some way in the future, but really you're going to have a sunk cost up front, which is not irrelevant in Cyprus. But 2 million euros, you can get a big chunk of that back. You get your passport pretty quickly into the EU, but you're not a Schengen area member. Now we move to the non-European Union countries. There are two programs coming online. We basically have the details of them. They will be starting in 2018. One is Montenegro. We made a separate video on that. It's going to be a donation plus a real estate purchase. So they're taking the best of both worlds for themselves. I tend to think that that program will not reach its cap over the next 3 years. I love Montenegro, but I think that it's a bit aggressive unless you're already planning on buying overpriced real estate there. It is merely an addendum. The next program is in Moldova. Moldova is coming online. They're going to run it similar to the Caribbean. They're going to say, hey, 100,000 euro donation, you become Moldovan. Interesting, although Moldovan passport does offer a bit different kind of visa-free travel than a Caribbean passport. You're not going to get access to the UK or Ireland. And so while potentially Moldova has a stronger case being right next to Romania, that it's always going to have Schengen access, I tend to think that it's not worth that extra $15,000 or $16,000 for less travel, because anyone who cares is going to know that you're not Moldovan and that you bought it. So there are many countries in the world where nobody knows or cares where St. Lucia or any of these countries are. They don't care. You go to Malaysia, you go to Ecuador, you go to Panama. I promise you, they look at the book, 90 days visa-free, have a nice day. They don't give any thought to it. If you want to go to the, some kind of country where they may care, that country's going to know. The United States, no doubt, has on its radar. Moldova's now selling passports, and if someone doesn't have a Moldovan name, they're going to be like, okay, we know the deal. So the idea that Moldova adds some extra layer of security, I'm not entirely sure that I buy that. I like Moldova. I was involved with some folks in keeping an eye on this as it came about, and it's not the worst offering. I think it's going to attract a different kind of person, someone primarily who wants to get into Europe, who maybe already has a good passport they plan to keep, i.e. a Russian. Not so sure it's fit for Western contenders. Now, there's a bonus. There's an 11th program, a bonus that we did not mention, and I didn't want to mention it because it is currently in a state of limbo, but I'll mention it as a bonus program, and that's Turkey. By all accounts, Turkey has essentially a citizenship by investment program. I would actually call it more of a fast-track naturalization program, but it's so commoditized that you can call it a citizenship by investment program. Turkey has, as of early 2017, put forward several ways to become a Turkish citizen. You can invest $1 million US in real estate. That could be different properties. You could invest in starting a business that creates 100 jobs. You could create term deposits. You could invest in government debt. But the easiest and probably most simple way and potentially most profitable way is to invest in real estate. Now, I've been doing a lot of research on this. We'll make a separate video on the Turkish program later. There are some restrictions that make it a bit less attractive in terms of owning different properties. However, the government has been rumored for the last several months to be lowering that $1 million real estate, and only the $1 million real estate option, down to $300,000. As of now, they have not. I see people running around talking about how it already exists. It does not. I spent a lot of time in Istanbul and have spent a lot of time working on this program, and the devil really is in the details. This is a program that was largely created by Turkish developers to sell real estate because there's such a building boom there. Now, that doesn't mean you have to buy poorly priced development projects. You can buy any kind of real estate, but the program is largely created by developers to get you to buy their stuff. So there's a lot of things you have to keep in mind if you want to buy decent priced real estate. If you do that, you can become Turkish and actually go through the entire residence and then citizenship process in about 5 months. So it's not that much faster than a Caribbean program, but it is an interesting alternative passport, potentially if you already have one of these other Tier B passports. So there's something to be said about Turkey. Now, I didn't include Austria, I didn't include Cambodia, I didn't include any of these programs where certain people can be naturalized or certain nationalities only are welcome. There's a lot that even the media goes along with saying that Austria has a CBI program. I finally heard someone in the media recently, I forget where, quoting us and saying that people are calling Austria not a CBI, because it's not. It is at the discretion of some higher-ups in the government to grant people who are very Austrian, who look Austrian, who sound Austrian, who can, be politically accepted in society, citizenship, if they make an approximate investment. And so I don't, blame anyone for trying to make it sound like it's a legitimate citizenship by investment option, but I can tell you that most buyers of CBI programs are Chinese. Others are Asian, South Asian, Eastern European, people who largely may not be accepted into that program. I would hardly call it a CBI. Cambodia is a bit more streamlined, but it's not entirely commoditized. There's not a straightforward process to it. There are other programs that are based on exceptional merit that can't really be relied upon because they differ based on your nationality. But there you go, 10 or 11, as you were, citizenship by investment programs. That is the rundown for 2018. Again, I would like you to definitely subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be putting out more videos on this topic. Also, please leave a comment. I want to know what you think and what your #1 preferred program would be. If you've done one of them already, please leave a comment and let us know. And if you're new to all this and you're saying, I was just trying to figure out what a second passport is all about, check out our channel and definitely check out the book on Amazon as well to get a lot of 101 insights into how this second citizenship process works.